I couldn't believe the insanity unfolding in front of me, folks. My wife, Emily, had just collapsed in our backyard from a heart attack, and I'd called for a medical helicopter to rush her to the hospital. But before it could even land, our homeowners association president, Margaret Voss, had the audacity to call the police to arrest Erise, my wife, lying half-conscious on a stretcher. Margaret, with her clipboard and smug grin, was screeching about disrupting the community aesthetic and citing some ridiculous new rule banning helicopter landings in our neighborhood. I pleaded with her to back off, to let the medics save Emily's life, but her goons tried to slap handcuffs on her as she gasped for air. It was a scene so cruel, so absurd, it felt like a nightmare. I recorded every second of it, and trust me, that video is going to bury this HOA. Where are you reading this from? Because this story of revenge will leave you speechless. Let me take you back to that crisp November morning in 2026, when life still felt normal. Emily and I were hosting our usual Sunday barbecue at our cozy riverside cabin in Willow Creek, a quiet community in upstate New York. The smell of grilled chicken and cedar smoke filled the air as I manned the grill, while Emily set out her legendary coleslaw on the picnic table. We'd bought this cabin 4 years ago, a dream home I designed myself after landing a major contract for a downtown office complex. This place wasn't just a getaway, it was our sanctuary, proof that hard work could still make the American dream real. But then Emily called from the kitchen, her voice tight with worry. "James, have you seen the latest HOA newsletter?" She stepped outside, clutching a stack of papers, her glasses slipping down her nose. "They've passed 19 new rules in the last 6 months. Look at this one from last week. Rule 52C bans all aircraft landings in the community, even for medical emergencies." I froze, tongs in hand, a chill creeping up my spine. "That's madness," I muttered, but my mind was already racing. My old college buddy, Tom, a sharp attorney in the city, had warned me months ago to keep records of everything the HOA did. "These petty tyrants are getting out of control," he'd said over coffee. "Record their meetings, save every email. When they come for you, you'll need proof." I thought he was being dramatic, but now, staring at this insane rule, his words felt like a prophecy. Who bans medical helicopters? What kind of person even dreams up something so cruel? Then it happened. Emily gasped, her hand clutching her chest, the papers scattering across the deck. Her face turned ashen, a terrifying gray I'd seen twice before during her heart episodes. "James," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sizzling grill. "Something's really wrong." I caught her as her legs gave out, lowering her to a chair as her breathing turned shallow and her skin grew clammy. This wasn't like her usual flare-ups. This was the big one, the moment we'd feared since her heart condition worsened 3 years ago. My hands trembled as I dialed 911, the dispatcher's calm voice cutting through my panic. "We need emergency medical at 142 Riverside Lane. My wife's having a severe heart attack. She needs immediate transport to St. Mary's Hospital. They told me a helicopter could land in our yard and get her to the cardiac unit in 7 minutes, compared to a 30-minute ambulance ride through winding roads." I agreed instantly, then called Tom. "Emily's having a heart attack, and the HOA's got this new rule banning helicopters. I think they're going to cause trouble." Tom's voice was razor-sharp. "James, record everything, video, audio, whatever you've got. If they interfere with medical care, that's criminal obstruction. Don't stop recording, no matter what." As the helicopter's roar filled the air, I saw them coming, a posse led by Margaret Voss, a 60-something former corporate lawyer everyone called the dictator, behind her back. She was flanked by 5 HOA enforcers in neon orange vests, led by Victor Kane, a hulking ex-cop hired as security chief a few months ago. Margaret's perfectly styled blonde hair didn't budge in the rotor wash, her face radiating smug satisfaction as she waved a stack of papers. "Mr. Thompson," she shouted over the noise, "you're violating Rule 52C, passed unanimously on November 3rd. No aircraft can land here, effective immediately." I stared, dumbfounded, as Emily struggled to breathe in my arms. The helicopter pilot radioed that they couldn't land until the area was clear. Margaret held up her document, her voice dripping with authority. "This rule protects our property values and community peace." She kept glancing at her watch, muttering about schedules, as if she'd planned this moment. The paramedics shouted that every second was critical, but Margaret and her team formed a human barricade around the only flat landing spot, their vests flapping like warning flags. That's when I snapped. I pulled out my phone and started a live stream on Instagram, my hands shaking as I framed the shot. This is James Thompson, broadcasting live from Willow Creek. My wife's dying of a heart attack, and our HOA is blocking the medical helicopter from landing. At first, only 15 people were watching, probably just friends, but I kept talking, describing the scene as Emily's breathing grew weaker. The heart monitor the paramedics hooked up was beeping erratically, her skin turning waxy. Victor Kane stepped forward, his voice booming. I was a cop for 20 years. I know the law. This community has the right to block unauthorized aircraft, even in emergencies. He started filming the paramedics, treating them like criminals. Margaret joined in, recording Emily on the stretcher. This resident is endangering community safety with this unauthorized aircraft, she declared loudly enough for my stream to catch. By now, 112 viewers were watching, and comments were flooding in. This is outrageous. Call the police. Share this everywhere. The situation turned surreal when Emily's breathing nearly stopped, and the paramedics prepared emergency equipment. We need to move her now, or we'll lose her, one said. But Victor loomed over the stretcher, insisting on citing her for violations first. Then the police arrived not to help, but to make things worse. Officer Daniels, a burly guy who shook hands with Victor like they were old pals, ignored the crisis and asked about the violation in progress. My stream hit 1,200 viewers, and the outrage was palpable. A second officer, Ramirez, arrived and immediately radioed for medical clearance, but Daniels countered, claiming the HOA's rules took precedence. The comments exploded. This is America in 2026. Get the news out. I'm calling the mayor. Then our neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn Brooks, a 72-year-old firebrand, stormed across her lawn. Margaret Voss, you did this to my husband, George, 8 months ago, she shouted into my stream. You delayed his ambulance for an hour over your stupid rules, and he died. You killed him. The silence was deafening, even with the helicopter overhead. Evelyn faced my camera, her voice trembling with rage. This woman has terrorized us for years. She forced the Lopez family out over their garden, made the Parkers sell because of their fence color, and now she's letting people die to feed her ego. She showed photos on her phone documents, emails, proof of Margaret's harassment campaign. The stream hit 3,500 viewers, and people were sharing it across platforms, hashtags like Justice for Emily trending. As Emily's condition worsened, a sleek black SUV with government plates rolled up. Margaret's demeanor shifted to nervous excitement as a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out. Edward Langley, the HOA's legal counsel. I remembered him from 3 months ago, when he'd offered to buy our cabin for 50% above market value. Now his cold eyes scanned the scene like a predator. Mr. Thompson, he said smoothly, your reckless actions are creating a liability nightmare. I fired back. Funny how you show up with legal papers ready, Edward. Tell everyone why you wanted our property so badly. The stream hit 7,000 viewers, and comments demanded answers. Langley's smile faltered as he deflected, but he made a fatal mistake, stepping aside for a phone call my microphone caught. The emergency is perfect timing. We can move to phase 2. The resort project's investors are counting on us. It all clicked. Margaret Voss wasn't just an HOA tyrant, she was tied to Langley Development, a company planning a $95 million luxury resort on our land. The regulations, the harassment, Victor's hiring, it was all to force us out. Officer Ramirez, fed up, cleared the landing zone, threatening arrests. But then my phone buzzed with a chilling text. Stop the stream, or Emily's care at St. Mary's will suffer. Donations come with strings. 60 seconds. I stared, horrified, but instead of stopping, I doubled down. Folks, they're threatening my wife's life to silence me. Screenshot everything. Share this everywhere. Evelyn saved the day again, showing photos she'd snapped of Langley's car site plan for Willow Creek Resort, our homes marked for demolition. This is why they're doing this, she said to 10,000 viewers. They're stealing our land for profit. The comments erupted with people contacting the FBI, news outlets, and attorneys general. Then, as Emily flatlined and paramedics fought to save her, 3 FBI SUVs roared up. Special Agent Laura Bennett took charge, declaring the scene a federal crime site. Margaret Voss, Edward Langley, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and violating emergency services laws, she said, cuffing them as my stream hit 18,000 viewers. Daniels and Victor were arrested too, tied to bribes from Langley Development. The helicopter finally landed, rushing Emily to St. Mary's. Agent Bennett revealed this was part of Operation Clear Path, a nationwide probe into HOA corruption. My stream had provided undeniable evidence, exposing a $500 million scheme across 12 states. Evelyn's photos, contracts, financials, investor deals sealed the case. Margaret was an employee of Langley Development, paid to harass residents into selling. The stream reached 5 million views in 24 hours, sparking news coverage and congressional hearings. Emily survived, but the delay caused lasting heart damage, requiring a year-long recovery. Margaret got 8 years in prison, Langley 14, and their assets were seized. Evelyn became interim HOA president, repealing every toxic rule. Our community healed, with families like the Lopez's returning. I started Riverside Rights Designs, helping others fight HOA abuse, while Emily advocated for emergency access laws. A year later, we stood on a new community helipad, a symbol of our victory. They thought they could crush us, I told a documentary crew. But one voice, one camera, changed everything. What would you have done in my shoes? Kept streaming or stopped to save your loved one? Is your HOA hiding secrets like ours was? Comment below, share your stories, and let's keep exposing corruption together. Like and subscribe to stay in the fight for justice.